Hello student, this is your biology teacher Pradnya Nigde and I am very glad to present this video for you. In the previous video of this chapter, we have seen the reproduction, the two types of reproduction, that is asexual and sexual reproduction, their comparative account, as well as the various modes of asexual reproduction. Now, in this video, we are going to start with the details of sexual reproduction and the development of male gametophyte. So, let's start with the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction, it is the process of development of new young ones through the formation of haploid gametes and their fusion forming the zygote. Sexual reproduction, it is also called as amphimixis or amphigony. In plants, vegetative phase and reproductive phase are seen during their lifespan. The end of vegetative phase marks the beginning of reproductive phase. Flower is the specialized reproductive structure in which sexual reproduction takes place. Sexual reproduction, it shows some characteristics. These characteristics, they are as follows. Number 1, formation of male and female gametes. Number 2, fusion of male and female gametes to form the zygote. Number 3, embryogenesis. Genesis means formation. So formation of embryo. And number 4, growth of embryo. These characters of sexual reproduction, they have shown in the next slide in the diagrammatic manner. Let's see. So, first of all, sexual reproduction starts with the formation of gametes. It is followed by the fusion of male and female gametes to form the zygote. After that, formation of embryo takes place and it is followed by the growth of the embryo. Let's move to the next part. Let's start with the structure of a typical flower, which you have already studied in the 11th standard. Now let's see the definition of flower. Flower can be defined as highly evolved, modified and condensed shoot, especially designed for the sexual reproduction. A typical flower may show 4 whorls: calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, out of which androecium and gynoecium, they are said to be essential whorls because they take part in the process of sexual reproduction, while calyx and corolla, they are said to be accessory whorls because they do not take part in the process of reproduction. Anther of stamen, it produces the microspores. Microspores means pollen grains. And ovule of carpel produces the megaspores. So, both male, that is both microspores and megaspores, develop into male and female gametophyte. Now, let's study the structure of anther in detail. Now, androecium is the male reproductive whorl and stamen is the individual member of it. Anther, connective and filament, these are the parts of the stamen. Anther is the fertile part and it consists of 2 anther lobes generally. Connective is sterile. Anther, it may be monothecous or dithecous. Mono, as the name suggests, monothecous, in monothecous anther, it contains single chamber. Mono means single and theca means chamber. In single chamber, it shows 2 pollen sacs. While in dithecous anther, di means 2 and theca means chamber. So, in dithecous anther, 4 pollen sacs are present. Therefore, it is also known as tetrasporangiate anther. Often, a longitudinal groove, it runs along the length of the anther, separating the theca. You can see such groove in the diagram. So, this was about the morphology. Let's study the TS of anther. So if we take the TS of anther, we can see these structural details. An immature stage of anther, it is represented by a group of parenchymatous tissue which is surrounded by a single layered epidermis. You can see the epidermis, it is labeled in the diagram. So this epidermis surrounds the inner parenchymatous tissue. After that, heterogeneity, that is differentiation in the parenchymatous cell, arises when some hypodermal cell gets transformed into archisporial cell. Hypo means below, dermals means outer layer. So when some below the hypodermal cell gets differentiated, it gets converted to form the archisporial cell. Now what is meant by archisporial cell? Archisporial cells, these are actively dividing meristematic cells. These archisporial cells divide into inner sporogenous cell and outer parietal cell. So what we have seen in the TS of anther, there is a group of parenchymatous tissue. It is surrounded by the single-layered epidermis. Now this parenchymatous tissue undergoes differentiation. Some hypodermal cells, they get differentiated and they form the archisporial cell. When this archisporial once again divides, it divides to form inner sporogenous cell and outer parietal cell. Now let's see the fate of these two types of cells. It means now what happens to these sporogenous cells and parietal cells? Let's see that. So each sporogenous tissue or each sporogenous cell, it gives rise to microspore tetrad. It means pollen grains. And what happens to the outer parietal cells? Outer parietal cells, they undergo division to form four types of anther wall layers. Now these anther wall layers, they are as follows. Number 1, epidermis. Number 2, endothecium. Number 3, middle layers. And number 4, tapetum. All these four anther wall layers, they are shown in the diagram. Now let's see the details of these four layers in the next slide. So number 1 is epidermis. Now epidermis, it is the outermost common wall layer of anther that consists of the flattened cells. This epidermis, it is protective in function. This was about the epidermis. Number 2 is endothecium. Endothecium, this is the second common wall for all four pollen sac inside to epidermis. It consists of single layer of cells. Endothecium shows characteristic callose thickening. This callose thickening, it is fibrous in nature. Endothecium cells in the shallow groove between two pollen sac remains thin-walled. They represent the line of dehiscence. Hygroscopic nature of this endothecium and the characteristic callose fibrous thickening, they help in the dehiscence of anther. So this was the function of endothecium. It helps in the dehiscence of anther. The third layer is nothing but the middle layer. Third layer internal to endothecium, it is known as middle layer. It consists of 1 to 2 layers of parenchyma cells. These middle layer, they surround each microsporangium, that is nothing but the pollen sac. After the formation of microspores, the cells of middle layer, they get degenerated, due to which two pollen sac of each lobe merge and they form one chamber in each lobe. I will once again repeat this statement. After the formation of microspores, the middle layer cells, they get degenerate, due to which two pollen sac of each lobe, they merge to form one chamber in each lobe. Now this was about the middle layer. Let's move to the last anther wall layer, that is nothing but the tapetum. Now tapetum, it is the fourth and innermost wall layer. It surrounds the inner sporogenous tissue of pollen sac. Tapetum cells are larger in size. They contain dense cytoplasm and one or more diploid nucleus or a polyploid nucleus. Now, what is the function of this tapetum? Tapetum provides nutrition to the sporogenous tissue and developing microspore, that is nothing but the developing pollen grains. This was the first function of the tapetum, and second function is nothing but the formation of sporopollenin. Now, what is this sporopollenin? Sporopollenin, it is a component of pollen exine. So, we have seen two functions of tapetum. Tapetum provides nutrition to the sporogenous tissue and developing microspores. And second function, formation of sporopollenin, which is a component of pollen exine. Now, let's move to the next part. Now, we have to study what is meant by microsporogenesis. In an immature anther, as we have seen in the structure, inner to the tapetum, the microsporangium, that is pollen sac, it contains a compact mass of diploid sporogenous tissue. We have seen this before only, that it contains a compact mass of diploid sporogenous tissue. The cells of this sporogenous tissue, they may undergo mitosis or they directly function as microspore mother cells. I will once again repeat. In an immature anther inner to the tapetum, microsporangium contain a compact mass of diploid sporogenous tissue. This sporogenous tissue, they may undergo mitosis or they directly function as microspore mother cells or pollen mother cells, which are shown in the diagram. At maturity, these microspore mother cells, which are diploid in nature, they undergo meiosis and they form 4 haploid microspores. Young microspores are generally present in the form of tetrahedral tetrads. Now, what is meant by tetrad? As you can see in the diagram, tetrads, they are nothing but a cluster of 4 cells. So, the formation of microspores or pollen grain by the meiosis of diploid microspore mother cell is called as microsporogenesis. I will once again repeat the definition. Formation of microspores, that is pollen grain, from a pollen mother cell or microspore mother cell is known as microsporogenesis. Now let's move to the next part. Let's study the structure of a typical pollen grain. Pollen grain is also called as the microspore. Typical pollen grain, it is a non-motile, haploid, unicellular and uninucleate body. It has a double-layered wall called as sporoderm. So sporoderm consists of outer wall layer called as exine and inner wall layer called as intine. So sporoderm consists of two layers, outer exine and inner intine. Let's see their details. Now exine, it is a thick layer and made up of complex non-biodegradable substance called as sporopollenin. We have seen this further. So exine consists of sporopollenin. Exine, it may be smooth like in wind pollinating plants, or it may be sculptured or spiny like in insect pollinated plants. This exine, it is resistant to chemicals and thus it provides protection to the pollen grain. Now this exine, it is interrupted at places showing the presence of germ pores. Germ pores, these are the thin areas or apertures which are meant for the growth of emerging pollen tube during the pollen grain germination. Now second part is nothing but the intine. So intine, it is the inner layer of the sporoderm. Intine, it is made up of cellulose and pectin. Let's see the next part. We will start with the development of male gametophyte. Microspore or pollen grain, it is the initial cell of male gametophyte. The development of male gametophyte is said to be endospory, that is, it occurs within the microspore. Development of male gametophyte, it involves only two mitotic divisions. Development of male gametophyte, it is completed in two stages and at two different places. First, before pollination in the pollen sac, and second stage after the pollination on the stigma. So let's see that details. First, we will start with the first stage before pollination in the pollen sac. While when the pollen grain it is still enclosed within the pollen sac, the protoplast of the pollen grain divide mitotically to form two unequal cells. The bigger cell or naked cell, it is called as vegetative cell, and smaller cell, it is called as generative cell. Let's see their details. The smaller cell, it is called as generative cell. It has a large nucleus, thin cytoplasm, and it doesn't have the reserve food and vacuole. The larger cell, it is called as the vegetative cell or tube cell. It has a large vacuole, cytoplasm, nucleus, and reserve food. Generative cell lacks a definite cell wall and it is freely suspended in the cytoplasm of vegetative cell. In the diagram, you can see the generative cell, it is freely floating in the cytoplasm of vegetative cell. In most of the angiosperm, pollen grains are released at the two-celled stage after the dehiscence of anther. Such two-celled pollen grain, it is also called as partially developed male gametophyte. So you have seen the development of two unequal cells, vegetative cell and generative cell, with the first mitotic division. So let's see the next division, that is second part or the second stage of the development, that is second mitotic division, in the next slide. So up till now we have studied the structure of a typical pollen grain. It undergoes first mitotic division to form vegetative cell and generative cell. Now what happens in the second stage? Second mitotic division takes place, but it occurs only in the generative cell. So only generative cell undergoes second mitotic division and it forms the two non-motile male gametes. This division either occur in the pollen grain or in the pollen tube. So let's see the second mitotic division. So after pollination on the stigma, this stage takes place. After pollination, the two-celled pollen grain, it is deposited on the stigma surface. Then it comes in contact with the sugary stigmatic secretion. Stigmatic secretion, it is sugary and it absorbs that. Due to this, the volume of cytoplasm increases. I will once again repeat. After the pollination, two-celled pollen grain, it is deposited on the stigma. Pollen grain comes in contact with the sugary stigmatic secretion and it absorbs that secretion, due to which the volume of the cytoplasm increases and it creates a pressure which acts on the intine. Now, the intine of pollen grain comes out of the germ pore in the form of a tube, and that tube is called as pollen tube. You can see that pollen tube in the diagram. The pollen tube grows, the intine of pollen grain comes out of the germ pore in the form of a tube called as pollen tube. Now the tube nucleus, cytoplasm, the generative cell, all these migrate into the pollen tube. This pollen tube grows down towards the ovule through the style due to chemical stimulus inside the ovary. So we have to keep this thing in mind, that pollen tube grows down towards the ovule through the style due to chemical stimulus inside the ovary. The generative cell now divides by mitosis inside the pollen tube to form two haploid non-motile male gametes. So we have seen that after reaching on the stigma, two-celled pollen grain absorbs the sugary secretion of stigma. This increases the cytoplasm. It creates pressure on intine. intine gets stretches out and it forms the pollen tube. After that, we have seen that generative cell divides by mitosis and it forms two non-motile male gametes. So, generative cell which have divided by mitosis in the pollen tube, it forms two haploid non-motile male gametes. Now, the pollen tube with the two haploid non-motile male gametes, it is there with the thin cytoplasm and degenerating sterile vegetative nucleus. It represents the male gametophyte. So in short, this is nothing but the male gametophyte. We will revise this part. The pollen tube with the two male gametes, thin cytoplasm and a degenerative sterile vegetative nucleus represents the male gametophyte. I hope you have understood this part. Thank you.